Sarah, can I tell you about something exciting that I've recently come across and have been a fan of for many years, but now I have something even better about it?
Please do.
Can you guess what it is?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I want to tell you today. Okay, so have you ever done the thing where you finished a really sweaty workout in the summer and you're just dripping with sweat and you have to get back in your car and your car already smells a little bit from previous attempts at trying to stay dry? What do we typically do? We try and like shove a towel into the headrest and then it falls down while you're driving, gets you soaking wet.
Or you put a seat all the way back and sit at the tippy edge of it just so you don't get your seat all sweaty. Yes, we've all been there.
Yes. So actually, a few years ago, about 5-7 years ago, Steve bought me sweatproof seat covers for a gift. And I was annoyed at him at the time. I was like, what kind of gift is this? This is the worst. But actually, it was the most ingenious idea because these covers, like, it's kind of like a child's hooded towel. You put it over the back of the seat, it slides down, it covers the seat, stops the sweat. So then you take it off when you get to the other end and your seat is dry. You would never know. You can obviously have that dry and then put it back in. So I'm excited to tell you that now I have a new one because my old one was just starting to like fade away. He got a cheap one. And I want to tell you about these Dri Seats. So it's going to give you protection for your seats. You can install it in seconds. It's got slip resistance, so it will stay in place. And it fits any car, although if you have a truck, there is a bigger size. But you don't have a truck, do you?
You know, it's funny. My husband has a truck, and I literally got yelled at last week for getting his seats all sweaty. So these sound like something I might need to get.
Yes. So they're thin light, they're washable, they don't stain, they're perfect for like post-run, especially on those summer days. So I want to tell the listeners that if you use code R4R, as in the number, R4R20, you are going to get 20% off your first order at dri-seats.com. So you can protect your car seats after your workout, after doing yoga, going to the beach, whatever it might be. And it's just a brilliant idea that I'm so thankful that I've had over these years. And I love that I have this new one that works so well. And so, yeah, I just wanted to tell you about it. So go check it out, R4R20.
It sounds like my days of wiping down my seats with baby wipes trying to cover up my mess. Sounds like my days of that might be over.
Or also, it could help you if you've had one of our accidents we talked about in a previous episode, right? As it is machine washable. All right, thank you to Dri Seats for supporting us with this episode, and go use that code R4R20 at dri-seats.com. Hi, Sarah. Welcome back to Running for Real-Isodes. For the listeners, I'm excited that we are back. And I told listeners at the end of the last episode that a response question came to mind when we were asking about dream jobs. We were talking about working our way up, being Division II athletes, not being plucked to big contracts and having all this pressure on us. So my question to you today is, what are you going to do if Charlotte or Emmy shows a lot of promise as an early child? And even if you are, one, what would you do in terms of if people are pushing them to train? And two, what would you do if you're not and they're still excelling? Like, how are you going to handle that?
Ooh, that is honestly probably the most loaded question I feel like we've tackled. And I honestly don't know if you and I are going to have similar answers. We both have two kids. They're both, toddler to young child age right now. I have thought about this a lot, especially with Charlotte, because while on the one hand, I am extraordinarily grateful for running in my life, and I'm so glad for all the things that it has brought me over the years, I don't know that I would recommend it as a career. This is going to sound crazy, Tina, but this is for real. So I'm just going to spill it. Like, there have been not just marathons, like world major marathons where I sincerely wonder if I am the first clean finisher to cross that finish line. And that this sport, for those who are determined to stay clean, who are not willing to do drugs, it's incredibly hard to make a living as an honest athlete in this sport. So for that reason alone, I would be very tempted to try to dissuade my children from wanting to do it at a professional level. I would love it if they enjoyed running and ran every day and ran with me. I want to see them enjoy to reap the fruits of running, because it's like, it really does, more so than almost anything else I can think of, it provides you with discipline and struggle in a good way. And all those things that we have talked about, that we really think are important for our kids. But as a profession, it would scare me a lot to hear one of my children say, like, that's what I want to do for a living, because I did that for a living. And it's a sport that while it's wonderful, it just will break your heart over and over and over again. How do you feel about it?
Well, first I want to go, or maybe should I give my answer and then we'll go backwards a bit to younger? What do you think?
Yeah.
I want to hear. Okay, I'll answer that. Okay, so you have rephrased this question as you answered it to, like, what if they say to me, like, this is what I want to do as a career? Okay.
Like if they want to run professionally, yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading somewhere that, like, actually most people who reached a very high level in any athletic sport highly dissuade their children from doing the same, because they know exactly what you just said there, what it does to them and the way they felt. And granted, we don't know how our parenting is different and how that's going to affect things, but I very much would encourage against it. And even now, like this, having run this ultra recently, Bailey kept saying to me, "Oh, mummy, you won. Oh, mummy, you won." And I'm like, I did, but actually it wasn't about that. Like what I did was I enjoyed myself, and I went to a beautiful place and I had fun with my friend. I'm trying desperately to, like, push that away from her of, like, winning. And so part of me wonders if they would ever come to me with that, I want to be a professional runner, because they might not see that as something to do, because I feel like I'm so anti it in many ways. But if they did, and I think, like, I could easily see that happening with both of them. Like, Bailey has muscles already, and so I know she's going to be that kid that's like, the teacher's like, oh, look at her, she's athletic. And it does terrify me, same as you. But yeah, I don't know. I think I would let them do it, but with the caveat of, like, you can do this, but I am not going to be, like, involved in this. This is on you. If you believe you and your body can do this, if you want to trust your body, go for it. But I will support you, but I am not involved. So keep it to yourself, I think. Or not keep it to yourself, but I'm out of it.
Yeah, and I think it's one thing to be like, because obviously there's been a huge push since we were children of, like, participation is what matters. Like, I want my children to understand it's okay to strive to succeed. Both you and I, we are competitive. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to want to win, or even to want to indulge that primal human instinct of beating the person next to you to a mark on the pavement, so long as you can walk away afterwards and be friends. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. And I also think, on the flip side of that coin, it's important for them to learn how to lose. So in your question of, like, what if they want to do it when they're younger? I think, and especially I think about the genetics that Charlotte was born with. She is the child of a parent, both parents who were national champions, both parents who went on to run professionally at a fairly high level. She has the genetics to probably do it, for a job if she wants to. But when she's really, really young, the hardest thing for me, and I just finished coaching, right? Because I'm writing novels now. That's what I do for a living. That's who I am. But in my years of coaching, the things that hurt me the most was when a parent would come to me to ask me, like, to say, hey, my 10-year-old, her coach isn't taking her seriously, so we're thinking about hiring someone. And 100 times out of 100, my answer is no, absolutely freaking not. Your child does not need a coach. She needs friends. She needs to go be on a playground. She needs to run if she wants to run. She needs to not have you put a GPS watch on her wrist and tell her to stick to a certain pace for you to be out there on a bike pushing her through an 18-mile long run. She does not need that. So yeah, that's the one thing that I will absolutely not take an active coaching role in my child's life. I don't think that's valuable or helpful at that age.
I 100% agree. And I'm not a coach, or wasn't a coach, but I still get that same question, and it breaks my heart every time to just think about the pressure that child is under. But also, even I get emails weekly, if not daily, of young girls who are 16 to 18 saying, I've got this race coming up and it's really important. And these are these long emails about like, my team is going to get to state for the first time and and it feel like I just want to wrap them up in a hug and be like, you're okay, like you're safe. Like, and so what about
you
that
just want to
age?
tell them, like, well, you want to tell them even at that age of like, the world is so much bigger than high school, than you winning state. It's so much bigger than this immediate little bubble that you're in right now. And it's like, the worst I can think of is like, I had a mom come to me and her kid was 13 years old. And this was back in like 2016. She's like, hey, we have our sights set on the 2024 Olympics. And I'm like, what are you talking? Like, it's like those kind of things where it's like, and when I think there's a value to like, yeah, you got to live in the moment and that you don't want to be thinking about the Olympics 8 years from now. That's not, dream big. That's great. But you do not need to have, even at the age of 16 or 17, where you're knocking on the door of adulthood, it really still should not be about, okay, this is my 5-year plan. This is my, it really is just about, okay, foster what you're interested in, like throw eggs at walls, right? You pick a dozen things that you love and figure out what you're good at and then start chasing that. But like you at 16 years old, you should still be throwing eggs. You should not be trying to make an omelet out of this one egg,
Yeah, so true. It's such a hard one, though.
Tough, and it's so, I mean, I get worked up about it. And it's funny because my daughter is 2. Like, she pooped in the pool yesterday. Like, she's still so tiny. And I'm like, but I look at her and I know it's the same thing as we've talked about, like that childhood innocence that like, once it's gone, it's gone. I think athletically, it's the same thing. Once you go down that road, you cannot go back without losing something. So it's like, I would like to push her off going down that road until, like, for me, it's like, I don't know about you, Tina, but I feel like college is maybe the time that if you're going to do that for a living, if you're bound and determined to do it, that's the time to really start, becoming regimented, making those plans and figuring it all out. At least it was for me.
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I remember going into college, my highest mileage ever was like 23 miles a week. And the idea of running 7 days a week just like exploded my mind. And I think that was like the ideal way to do it, because I was, at the age where I was ready to take on that commitment and my body was formed enough to where I could. So
here's a question for you though, Tina. If your mom had said, now granted, your mom was not a professional athlete, but if she would have said, I don't want you doing this for a living, this is not the right thing, would it have made a lick of difference? Like, honestly.
I don't think so.
Yeah, me neither.
No.
So it's like at the end of the day, we can only do so much. Like, our kids are going to do what they're going to do. All I can do is, like, right now I can tell you there's not a single trophy around my house. They're in boxes. Someday she might find them. Someday she might go through and be like, why do you have 13 NCAA trophies in a box? But it's not going to be because I told her what I did,
Yes, and mine are tucked away in a box. Although I sent one back to England when I was annoyed about it. I think it was like cross country 2009, 10 maybe. I like sent it home to England. I was like, I don't want this one, and so my mum has that one. The other ones are in a box downstairs. But one last funny thing,
saying that as you box it, I'm like,
oh, so ridiculous. Like, I didn't want to finish 12th again. What an embarrassing result, which is so like stupid thinking about it now. But my daughter, so Bailey, often, like, you can see, Sarah, the medals are behind me, and they're only the ones that like mean something significant to me.
Oh yeah.
And she always picks up the New York one because that's her favorite. And she's like, did you win this one? And I'm like, if only you knew how funny of a question that was. No, I did not win the New York City Marathon.
Yeah. And isn't that funny? Because then when even if you were like, oh, I finished second, it's like their thought is not like, wow. Their thought is like, oh, you lost. You're a loser.
Yeah. So, all right, Sarah, thank you so much for Real-Isode, episode 12. I love you and can't wait to dig into next one.
All right. We'll talk next time.